Yep, I like it. Let's move on to that second game. As you said, it is on Saturday night, 7:50 p.m. Suncorp Stadium. The Brisbane Broncos are $1.27 favourites, minus 10.5, over under at 42.5. The New Zealand Warriors are $3.95. The line for them is plus 10.5. The underdog has covered in the last 8 between the two. Brisbane have won their last 9 matches as favourite when they've had the rest. But of note, the last 5 games between these two teams, the record is 2 wins apiece and a draw. Very interesting game coming into this. The Warriors got the big win last week back home, and everyone just like, they'll just roll into Brisbane and get rolled. But as we've sort of said all year, this New Zealand Warriors outfit is plucky, and on their best, if they come to play, they can punch Brisbane directly in the mouth early and cause a shock. I'm pretty keen on the Warriors at the line. That's where my starting point is on this game.
Okay, I love that. I hope so. I hope it's an interesting game. I think this is probably of the 2 preliminary finals, this is probably the one that more fans have been circling all week as the game that that they're really looking forward to, given the Warriors season. Brisbane are obviously deserving favourites for this one as well, but it should be a great game. And of the two, again, like we were sort of talking about last week, this one feels like the game where the overs is probably under more threat, even though it's at 42.5 versus 39.5. Over 42.5 total points, you can get $1.95 on Top Sport last time I checked, which is great value. I like the over in this one. The Broncos, they beat the Penrith Panthers in Penrith in round 1, 13-12. They started the season well. They've just been pretty much lights out right the way through the season.
Yeah.
No sign of late season fade this time around. They ended up with a regular season record of 18 wins, 6 losses, which is just outstanding given the length of the NRL season and what teams like a Brisbane Broncos have to deal with through the origin period as well. So, full credit to what they've been able to do. And then, to beat the Storm 26 points to 0 a fortnight back in the first week of the finals, where there might have been some nerves. They haven't had a lot of finals experience under Kevy Walters, and to do what they did was incredibly impressive. One of the interesting side notes to this game is Reece Walsh, the fullback for the Broncos, who's obviously, he probably had a breakout season prior to this year, but when he was a Warriors player, but he's taken his game to a whole new level this season, obviously, and now he finds himself in a preliminary final against his old team at Suncorp Stadium. It's quite poetic for Reece Walsh, and he's going to be going hard in this one. We know that sometimes emotions can catch up with him. He's going to be pushing the buttons hard in this one. So I think he's a good anytime try scorer, bet at $2.40 on Ladbrokes. He's going to run hard at lines. I think he's up for a big one. The Warriors, they're playing their first preliminary final in 12 years. We know. Remember, they got to the grand final back in 2011, where they lost to the Daly Cherry Evans debut seasoned Manly Seagulls. But I get the feeling with the Warriors that they kind of played themselves out of nervous football in last week's game.
Yeah,
they got out to that lead against Newcastle. Then the Knights worked their way back into the contest early in the second half. And you were just thinking, oh dear, this is going to be the end for the Warriors. They had that bad week 1 loss against Penrith, and now they're the team looking more nervous. And then they show that they have that next gear. They go again, and sort of the faith that I placed in the Warriors last week when we were sort of previewing that game, that was the football they showed. They showed that they're above those kinds of, hurdles and moments. And now they have to prove that once again. Most games like this, I'm gonna play the percentages and side with the team that's had that rest advantage. that's been the more consistent outfit all year, that's playing at home. But yeah, look, I'm right there with you. I think the Warriors are the better bet to cover of the underdogs across both of these two preliminary finals. But that said, I'm still taking the Broncos minus 10.5.
Okay, so we've talked about all sort of the machinations of this match, and we've ended up with basically the two favourites covering well. And as you've said, it's a preliminary final, so anything can happen. For me, of the two games where something could be a little bit fugazi, it's like, oh, whoa, this is a match. I know it's what the odds say, but when you sort of look at the two rosters and everything of both teams in both games, it's like, well, this is the game that the Warriors could jump and run them, because I know the Broncos rested a bunch of players a month ago when they got smashed by the Storm, but they still did, and they had a couple of them play. So some of them have only played one game in 28 days when we start this game on Saturday night. So is there a chance that, rest versus rust takes over? Or I'm not sure. I just feel like the Warriors have got something in them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Adam Fanua-Blake, he got on the try scorers list once again last week. He's one of the form props in the world, if not the form prop. The only guy really that's potentially better, if we're going to come up with some BS rankings thing, is Payne Haas. They're both playing in this game. The Warriors have a really good forward pack. Tohu Harris is your Pat Carrigan as well. So to an extent, they'll probably cancel each other out. But yeah, look, I like the Broncos just from 1 to 17. Just like we spoke about with Jerome Hughes in the last preview, Sean Johnson is the one coming into this game with a calf problem. And again, he got through last week. He got his 10 minute early mark, but his calf is not 100%. And we saw what happened at the end of week 2 in Cincinnati's game with the Baltimore Ravens and Joe Burrow's calf. So, there's also a world where Sean Johnson hurts himself in the first 10 minutes and it's game over for the Warriors. We obviously hope that's not the case. But again, playing the percentages, I'm siding with the Broncos minus the 10.5. But the Warriors they're a big chance of covering. They are a chance of winning this game. And, we'll just have to wait and see. The Broncos, by the way, in terms of the head-to-head, they claimed a narrow win a little bit earlier on in the season in Napier. They beat the Warriors and they were resting key personnel as well. I sort of remember previewing that game and I thought the Warriors would be far too strong for a Broncos side that was missing some stars. So that was arguably one of Brisbane's more impressive wins of the season when you sort of reflect on what they've been able to achieve this year. Obviously, the Broncos won't be holding anyone back for this game. So, yeah, look, we've mentioned the fact that the underdog has covered the line in each of the last 8 meetings between these sides, but I just get the sense that trend has to end at some point, and perhaps it's here.
Okay, I don't mind it.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.